Hey guys, so for today's video, I decided that I'm going to talk about something that's really personal to me. In today's video, as you can probably have seen from the title, I'm going to be talking about my conversion to Catholicism. So I'm gonna start, and just FYI, if you hear things in the background, it's just my family downstairs, so I'm gonna start all the way back into grade 8. So, grade 8, I went through a very, 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 very challenging time. I'm not going to get too into detail into that story. I might do a different story time for that, but right now I'm just going to get onto this. So, I just went through a challenging time. And to get through that, I really had no one to turn to. And it was a very, very dark and lonely time. Just to back up, in middle school, I didn't have very many friends. From grade 6 to 8, I had one group of close friends. In grade 8, we went through stuff, and then I was left with one. And so it was hard. It was really hard, and I had no one to turn to. And so that's where I think I first had my encounter with God, and that's where I first was faced with God. Did I realize it? Absolutely not. But as I grew up, I actually realized that that's when I had my very first encounter. Going into grade 9, I really started realizing my faith. And I really started realizing that God was real and that we have to start praying to Him and talking to Him. And it was it was really because I had an amazing teacher who loved faith so much, and she would love to tell stories and stuff like that about her faith, and that really changed my life. And I also had a youth minister who would come in every month and do chapel time, and she would tell us stories about her life and about her faith experience. And then I started opening up to the fact of God and opening up to the fact of praying and being able to talk to Him. And so then grade 9, I decided, I really just love to help people. So I gave my whole life up, and I decided to just help people. And that's all I would do. I would help people. I would tutor people. And I just found such a joy in serving God and being able to be His disciple and walking with Him on my journey. And that was in grade 9 was the first year that I actually took a big leap into faith and took a big step into expressing my faith. And then grade 10 hit around. So grade 10, I entered into high school. And I decided to start going into doing youth ministry type activities. So I did Edge, and I did Drime, and I did Life Teen. That was all because of my one friend who told me, hey, you should really do this. It changed my life. And I was kind of leaning on doing it. I was like, maybe not. And I decided to do it. And the youth ministry family just welcomed me with such open arms, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. So I decided to keep doing it, and every time we had an event, I would go. But my family was going through a really rough time, where my dad, he had lost his job, and there was just this whole bunch of issues that we were just going through, and it was a struggle. And I was mad a little bit. I was mad that why would God do this to us? Why would He make us suffer? And that was the big question for me, because I don't know, I was kind of there's so many people out there who are so they have so much money and they're so happy, and they're and why is God doing this to me? But then I just remember, so my youth minister asked me if I wanted to get baptized, and I'd always known in my heart ever since I was little that I wanted to go and I wanted to get baptized, not necessarily knowing what it entailed or what it was. I just wanted to get it done. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And so I was going through RCIA programs and learning more about my faith, but I was still angry. And I remember one day just going into my school's chapel and just yelling. I was like, God, why would you do this to us? Why would you make our family suffer in such enormous ways? And then And then I started breaking down, and then I was silent, and then all of a sudden everything went quiet. Like, it was such a moment that I will always remember, and I just remember that feeling. Everything went quiet. Like the hallways were so busy, like it was morning, that everybody was walking around, but the hallways were quiet, and I didn't hear anything, and I didn't even have any thoughts. And I just heard God say, Nicole, I have you. I've got you, and I love you. And I felt him wrap his arms around me. And that's when I broke. Like, I just started crying. Like, there was nothing holding me back. And I just was like, this is what I need to do. I need to be a disciple, and I need to follow Jesus. And after that day, I took the biggest step of my life, giving my life to Jesus. And I never turned back after that. That was in the middle of my grade 10 year. And after that, I've always taken a stance to help others, no matter how much they need me, to just stop and listen instead of just jumping into things, to actually listen instead of making accusations, and just listen. So going through the rest of my grade 10 year, I was so happy with my faith. I was like expressing it, jumping it up and down. Like, I was just, you could tell that I was a Catholic girl and I loved Jesus because everybody knew it. They knew where I stood. They knew my boundaries and everything because I expressed it. And then I remember a time where I started really, really liking this guy. Like, I fell head over heels for him. He was all my thoughts. He would just obtain my mind, and I'd get so distracted. He was everything. And I was mad because I knew he didn't like me back, and I was mad because he had a girlfriend, and I was just mad because I was like, I really liked him, and then he had a girlfriend, and I was like, oh, dang it, like, why? And then I went into adoration, because my school was having an all-day adoration, and I went into adoration. And I was like, I need to sit and listen. And I put in my music, I put in Christian music and was listening. And then I looked at the crucifix, and I was like, he loves me so much. Like, he died for me on the cross. He died so that I could live with no sins. He went through pain. And I was like, he's at my door knocking every day, knock, knock, knock. And I just wouldn't open the door, and I wouldn't let him into my life. And that was a day where I was like, I need to open this door. I need to love him with all my heart. I cannot be so focused on other people. Like, I need to be focused on Jesus right now. Like, that's all that matters. And so I opened that door, and I felt a peace. Like, I felt an instant peace just inside of me. It was a life-changing moment for me. And then I started wanting to go to the chapel every day. Like, I had a class called Learning Strats, and literally we did nothing in it. So I would ask my teacher to go to the chapel every day during third block. And I had some very, very amazing moments. I remember sitting one day, looking at the tabernacle, because we have a tabernacle at our school. And I was looking at the tabernacle, and I was thinking, like, this is amazing. And then I closed my eyes, and I looked to my right. Well, I actually wasn't looking, but I felt myself look to the right, and I saw God. Like, I just saw a Jesus figure, and I was like, what the heck? Like, am I dead? Like, I literally thought I was dead at this moment. I was like, am I okay? And then he got up, and he held out his hand, and I grabbed it, and I stood up, and everything was quiet. Like, I literally was in this moment, and I was just like, what? And it was crazy to me. And then my friends came in the room, and they were yelling, and they were like trying to get my attention, and I wasn't like, I couldn't hear them or anything. And then they came in front of me, and they hit my leg, and I kind of like snapped out of it. I'm like, what the heck? Like, where am I? Like, it was a crazy, crazy life-changing moment. And at these moments, I knew that God was real, and I knew that God was there with me. And so I went and I got baptized. And this is actually a cross, and I wear it every day to represent me going to Jesus and me living my life for Jesus. And so, fast forward past grade 10, past my baptism, this is the point in my life where I started falling super, super hard, because I had done something good for my life, and the devil was not happy with that, and he wanted to see me fail. He wanted to pull me away from God, to not let me accept Jesus into my life. And so he did everything he could to make it a hard time for me. I went through many long nights, many feelings of worthlessness and just not feeling good enough for God. And it was bad. But I always had my youth minister. I went to my youth minister and told her everything. I told her, like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. Like, I'm just suffering. Like, I'm going through so much. Like, and I feel like I'm not good enough for God. And she's like, Nikki, like, listen, like, that's the devil. He's trying to pull you away. You need to stay strong. You need to just trust in God with all your heart. And so I did. And then during August of this year, I went, or I guess last year, but I went to camp, and it was called OLVC, Our Lady of Victory Camp. And I was super nervous because I used to get really homesick really, really easily. And so I was like, what if I go? What if I get homesick? I can't have anybody come pick me up. Like, I'm super nervous. And so the first day, I kind of felt a little out of place, only because everybody had their friends, and I was kind of a newcomer. I had never been there before. And then that night, I had a hard time falling asleep. And I just prayed. I had a rosary beside me. I held the rosary. I prayed until I fell asleep. And then I fell asleep. And then the next day, everything changed. And I'm so glad that I stayed. I was going to try and call whoever I could to come pick me up that night. But then I stayed. And I'm so glad I did. Because we had confession on the Tuesday that we were there. And that confession, I was sitting. I was sitting outside. And for a good, probably 20, 30 minutes, I was sitting there in silence, just with myself. And I just felt a peace come over me right before confession. Imagine that, right before the most scary thing you can do, to go to a priest and tell him everything you've done wrong. But I sat there in silence, and I felt peace. And I was like, I'm going to be talking to Jesus. Like, I'm going to go talk to Jesus. And I'm going to tell him everything that I've done, and I'm going to feel better. And I just felt peace. And I went into that confession, and it was the best confession I've ever had. Like, it was amazing. And then I went to, and then I counseled at camp. And that was also a very great, amazing time. I might do a story time on my camp experience, but again, different story for a different time. And then I went to Dive In, which was another camp that was held that summer. And again, I felt that presence. And at these camps, I get, it's so life-changing. It's so life-changing. And the camp, I remember sitting, talking to my friend, and it was right before an adoration, I think. And then I went up to her, and I was just bawling, and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm just like, God loves us so much. And I just felt this peace, this joy, and this happiness flow inside of me. And I was just like, God loves me so much, and he loves you so much, and he loves all of us so much. And it was the most life-changing moment. I was just bawling my eyes out. And I have just been so joyous. After coming into my conversion into Catholicism, I've been so joyous and so happy. And all I want to do is serve others. And all I want to do is to be able to help others. And it doesn't matter what their race or religion or sex or anything. I just want to help. And it's definitely changed my life. And I actually have a scapular. So it's this. It has tags on both sides, and it's a scapular. And I actually wear it every day too. But it's been a good journey, and it's been a very joyful one. And it's helped me decide what I want to do. I want to go out and help people. When I graduate, all I want to do is to be able to help people. I want to be a missionary. I want to travel the world helping people who don't have the things that I have. I want to be able to express my love for God and express my joy, because I've never had this joy before that I can't even explain. So I just want to thank you guys if you've lasted to this amount of time. It's 15 minutes. So I just want to thank you guys for listening. And I just want to thank you guys for spending the time listening to a little bit of my life and a little bit of where I come from. And so Thank you. I'll see you guys next Friday.